Hello, and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Anika.
And I'm Andrea, and welcome to episode 9, if that's correct, of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery called Rubicon. And this episode is all about Captain Burnham and the USS Discovery and their race to stop Book and Tarka from launching a rogue plan that could destroy the entire galaxy. And I have to say, I did not hate this episode. So let's go into it. Initial reactions, Monica, what did you think?
I like the episode. Wasn't my favorite, but I like it. Fast paced, lots of action. And Nan is back. So a really good character has returned that Discovery brought into the future. So it's nice to be able to reconnect with her and know that there is a Black Ops. Because I was wondering, how are they really going to rein in the Emerald Chain after they've been going rogue for so long? And now I know how. There's an underground police force working it all out. So, yeah. And another little spicy part that I like is the blossoming love story, perhaps.
No, we don't need that to blossom. It can wither.
I like it. And that was part of my reaction. What about you?
So I did not hate this episode. It was enjoyable. There were still some dumb decisions made by smart people, and there was still like on the surface, I know this is the right decision, and I know I'm not going to be able to do it. So I'm fine with having someone else do it. And when the other person recommends it, not yet. You're contradicting yourself. Like you already know you're compromised. Stop. So that's my reaction because it wasn't perfect. This episode was not perfect for me by far, but it was finally nice to get a little bit of action, but they still leave so many questions at the end. So let's go ahead and do a quick deeper dive of this show. So in this episode, Book and Tarka are definitely just like, look, we're still gonna do what we want to do. It's gonna happen. And Vance is telling Michael, we know you're the best ship to go after, and you know the ship better than any other captain to being in charge, but you're still a little too connected. So we're gonna bring someone else on, Nan, which happy to have her back. And it's like, okay, this is a gap. This is like a bridge between someone who is duty first and duty bound to also someone who understands and knows the crew, but is not too connected to Book, knows him, but is willing to put Starfleet above him. And we have the crew in a little bit of a disagreement of, well, Book is right or he's wrong, or I understand why he's doing this. And then we just have conversations, and it's just like, your guys are fighting. Stop having these civil conversations over like explaining things back and forth. Like you cannot still be in a relationship while while he might be starting a war with a giant that you guys can never destroy just because he thinks is going to make him feel better. Like Book, you're like, at this point, you know, there's no reason for you to do what you want to do. This doesn't, what, like, your plan literally does nothing anymore, and you know this, and you're still going to let Tarka use you. You're smarter than this, honey. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Let's get into it. So what do you want to talk about first today?
I would like to first talk about the president and Vance. So
Okay.
they are aware that Michael is really close to the situation, as close as you could possibly get. Mm-hmm. And she's had challenges making tough decisions before. And they were able to bring Nan, who's, as you stated, connected to Discovery crew, but also puts duty above all. And at least they have like a kind of like a good connection between the existing Federation and Starfleet, and someone who can override Michael based on their order. So it's sort of like they have a mole, but it's obvious because this person's out. But like they have someone that's in on Discovery Bridge for checks and balances. And I think we've been talking about that for a while, that they need to have someone that's more engaged in the Federation there on the bridge. I would like to have seen another person as well who has more history with this time period, but at least there's Nan. And as my husband pointed out, Nan has an interesting path because she was able to make a big decision that Michael could not make a few seasons ago, because Nan pushed Arium ejected Arium out of Section 31 headquarters when Michael couldn't and was hesitating and was panicking. So
even when Ariam was like, let me go, I can't control this.
Right. And she was fighting for her life because she had lost her oxygen. Yes. So we know for a fact that she's able to make these tough decisions. And Vance and the president, who's kind of wants to be like separated from this and be able to, like, I think, not take a fall if this doesn't work out, but still connected inside of like a weird kind of
like basically have like, look, Michael, we don't want you to know that we don't trust you, or we don't want you to feel like we don't trust you, but we also need to have something to save our skins if you decide you're not going to kill him or stop him. And this goes back to that episode where the president was like, you could have risked everyone for the few, and you need to not do that. And so this is almost another test of, are you willing to do what needs to be done, and you'll lose a few people to save everyone else? And so I was very happy that they put Nan on the ship. For a season and a half, she was gone. And so in that time, we learned that she went back to her home planet. She joined Starfleet. Now she has connections. Unlike Discovery ship, she has connections outside of Discovery. And regardless if it's family, if it's friends, if it's coworkers, she's more well-versed in this timeline in this year than Discovery is, because they still hold true to like the past. And she's like, okay, well, I was alone, so I had to make other connections. And people, when they have to make their own, it's like when you start a new job, all your old coworkers are still friends, but you have to make new connections. And so if someone's like, okay, you care about the people on Discovery, they won't think twice about you being there. If it hits the wall, kill them, Nan. And I like that it was her. And I like that it wasn't someone else who didn't have that connection to Discovery to come on and be like, oh, you guys are just like crazy, because she knows how they work. So
I also think that the opening scene covered a lot of ground in a short period of time, between the conversations between the three of them, and then the conversations between Book and Tarka as Book pours the isolithium into the weapon, but they weren't using a funnel. Like, it was so delicate. Like, he was gently pouring into this round, like basically like an orb, but he only has a limited quantity. Use a funnel. Take a sheet of paper and roll it around. It's a guy. But what do I know?
I mean, maybe it's like programmable matter just sticks to each other. Who knows? So we also see that like Discovery, so when Michael gets back onto the ship with Discovery, Nan gives them a fib and saying she's just here to observe. And Michael's like, no, I owe the crew more than that. Explain to them. Like, she explains she's here to go through with the mission if I can't. And I think that was a level of vulnerability that Michael doesn't always show, in a sense that Michael doesn't show prior sometimes. Like, she'll show a vulnerability in the middle of an action. It's like, I can't lose you, and she won't go through with it. But this is before it even starts. She lets them know she's here just in case I can't do it. She's here to do what needs to be done. We see that they basically jump to where Book is with Tarka.
Because Michael's had a lot of time on Book's ship, she knows access areas and a weak point in Book's ship where they could access. Yeah, they take a shuttle over, and Bryce and Reese have a disagreement on the ship, on the shuttle.
And because they're disagreeing on what Book is doing, because on one hand, it's like, look, his entire people died, so I understand what he's doing. And on the other hand, like, you blowing up the DMA literally solves nothing. It's not a living thing. It has no, like, you're not getting revenge, and like, you're going to put the entire galaxy at risk to blow up a machine. Like, that is what you're doing. And then we see Hugh playing the Counselor. So I don't like his character as a counselor. And every time I see him, every time I see them put him more and more into a counselor role, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Well, I also thought it was strange that Michael picked Hugh to go over there to talk Book out of this. No one can talk Book out of this. Realize that, Michael. No one, because Book is stubborn. He's in it. He's not turning away from this ever.
Because let's be honest, when Tarka does not care about them at all. And so that is a flaw in Michael's strategy, is she's thinking that it's only Book that she has to convince. And she's only focusing on Book because it's his ship. And that's showing a level of disconnect that she's not really getting to the bigger picture. It's not Book that you have to convince, because he can't make the bomb. It's Tarka. And at this point, Discovery and Starfleet, they don't know why Tarka really wants to do this. They don't know that he's trying to escape into another universe. They don't know any of this. Only Book does. And so even though everyone knows Tarka is working with Book, they all assume is Book's the one who's in charge. And he's not. He's being manipulated by Tarka. And that's like a whole aspect of this issue that no one is seeing.
Because Book sent over that hologram message and hasn't really been answering Michael's calls, he's kind of like saying, it's not you, Michael. I love you, but it's the situation. And Michael's still having a hard time understanding that line and drawing that line, and to a point in which we're going to discuss later. But yeah, she's having difficulties with this and making tough decisions, because Tarka set up a defense mechanism on Book's ship without Book's permission
and knowledge.
Yeah. And so then Discovery shuttle crew had a hard time docking or even returning back to Discovery. They almost died.
Like, it was like the programmable matter was like swallowing the shuttle whole and was like crushing it. And so they barely escaped as the ship was destroyed. And Book is like, I'm so sorry. Like, did everyone make it out? I'm so sorry. And that right there should have been their number one point, that he was no longer in charge.
Right.
That still was not a clue to them, but that should have been their very first clue. Book would have never done that. He's not in charge. He's not the person we need to talk to. Because again, Book can't make the bomb. Right. Only Tarka. Right. And still we're seeing the emotion is taking over logic, because why are you still talking to the person who's not in charge? Why are you trying to convince the person who has no control? You already see that his ship did something that he didn't want it to do, and he had no control to stop it. And that almost killed part of your crew. Why are you still trying to get him down? He's not the person in charge anymore, people. It's
right. Book is just a vessel, just the transport for Tarka's undercover mission. Crazy. So then they start to hop around, and I think they jump back to the DMA.
On this half, we're going to talk about everything else that basically happened in this episode. That Michael tells Book that is just it's a piece of mining equipment. Book admitting that he still wants to destroy it because it killed innocent lives. We see them having a cat and mouse game and flirting almost over it, which stop. We see Nan saying that she has her mission is to destroy them, to kill them. Basically, she has a way of destroying them if it needs to happen. We see Discovery crew still not like okay with that, but Michael telling them if she gives the order, do it. We see Michael and having a 101 with Book, taking a shuttle to him and begging him for a week reprieve. And we see Tarka just being Tarka. So there's a lot to discuss in the second half of this episode. So let's go ahead and get into it. The fact that this is mining equipment and Book knows that it's mining equipment and still wants to blow it up. I feel like that was a flaw in his character that they shouldn't have given him.
Everything we've known about him in the past, he's been sensitive to the needs of species and wanting their resources. I think in this case, it's because it hurt his personal planet, like his legacy and his where he grew up, so that he's just stubborn about it now. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes you get too far into your mischief or your
If you feel like you have to keep doing it because you already got this far.
right, or your lie, or yes, so he can't backpedal now. And he knows, I think deep down inside, he will just be imprisoned in the Federation. And although Tark is telling him that, oh no, they'll see that this was all okay and they'll pardon you or you'll be able to break free. And I think Book knows, though, that's not the case, and he will never be the same with Michael.
And here's the thing about Book that I feel like they had him missing the huge point. You're killing a machine and the people who created it are still alive. So the person that you want to get back at is not the DMA, it's the person who created the DMA. And you knew this. And it's like, as you're getting more and more information, like you said, you're just sticking to a bad decision because you already made it. But it's like you blowing this DMA up accomplishes nothing because it's not a living being. It doesn't know what it's doing. It has no cognitive belief of what anything that it's doing. And you want to get to the creators of it. And you've let Tarka believe that blowing this up gets revenge, or it does whatever it needs to do for your planet, and it does nothing. Because that's like me saying a DUI driver hit someone and I'm going to destroy the car. The car was not the problem. It was the person. Focus your anger on the right thing. Granted, I still don't want you to kill anyone because I feel like if they can create that DMA, they are giants among men. But like you're dying on the wrong hill. You picked the wrong hill to die on, Book.
Yes, and he's so focused on trying to access the box that's the controller for the DMA, that he continuously tries to jumps there, and then Michael puts Discovery in the path of Book every time he jumps. So every time he jumps, Michael moves Discovery closer and closer. But then she also has more scientists on board to be able to scan to find out the exact location of that controller in that box.
And we see during this whole little cat and mouse scene, I'm sitting here yelling at my TV. I know y'all are not like reminiscing on the good times because of this during this. I know for a fact you are not reminiscing. Oh yeah, when he double crossed the pirate and he did this. Oh, I remember what he did. Oh, she has a good memory, dude. You guys are at war right now. This is not time for cutesy remembering. Oh my gosh, do you remember when that happened? Yeah, I remember when that happened. This is not the time. This is not the time, because you're both fighting on the different sides of, will we start a war? Will we not start a war? This is not the time. Like, oh, I remember when we did this. Oh, she has a good memory. Stop it. Stop the flirting. Stop right now. Stop it. That's how I felt when I was watching that scene.
You can tell that that's the way that Non felt. She was like, he's obviously playing his games with you. You need to outwit, and we need to talk about some other strategy here. This is not a game. This is a mission. And this is getting on Tarka's nerves as well.
Yes. This is the one time I agree with Tarka. Stop this. Stop this. And then we hear that Non fully explains to Michael that she intends to blow up Book's ship, basically, just to destroy it. And it's like the last resort. And she really wants to use it now and just get it over with. And Michael's like, we're not there yet. But at a certain point, you are there. Because they've already shown what they're willing to do. You guys were firing upon each other. Your shields are kaput. Like, they've already shown how willing they are to do what they're doing. So what you really should do is beam them into your brig and blow up the ship. I know you don't want to hurt Book that way because he loves that ship, but stop fighting peacefully with someone who does not want peace. You're not going to win. He's not thinking rationally. Non is correct. Take that hard road.
Yeah, especially after Saru, Hugh, Bryce, Reese almost died.
Yes.
At that point, because they were beamed out just in the nick of time, at that point, you know, as you stated, that Tarka's in control, and Book's, we already know Book's not thinking rationally, but that you have to just protect the whole galaxy, not these two people. It's more about the bigger picture, Michael. You can't save everyone.
Nasha's like, look, I'm the captain now. So then we also see that Michael decides she's, you know what, I'm gonna go in the shuttle. I'm gonna go talk to him face to face as I possibly can. And that's when she lets, I want to say it was Reese or Bryce, one of them. Like if Nan makes that order, you're going to follow it. You're going to do it. I think it was Reese is the one that she was talking. Yeah, it was Reese. She gets into the shuttle and she goes, and Book is not going to fire on her because it's her. And she explains that she got Stamets to give her the numbers that basically they have a week before the DMA is going to collect all of the Bornite in the current area it's in. And in that week, they're going to try and create first contact with the creators of the DMA and stop them and like talk to them and explain to them what they're doing and ask them to honestly stop. I think the dumb part is like, we'll hold you on our ship. No, I would have never done that. I would have never. That was a dumb part of the whole. We'll hold you on our ship. But if you could just say parlay for a week, we won't chase you. You won't set up the bomb. We'll try and end this peacefully. And again, it goes to show that she doesn't have the full picture because Tarka does not care. He's trying to leave the universe, and Book knows that. And that's also showing how Book is not fully into this situation because the only thing Tarka wants is to blow it up to have the power source to escape. Book, you're not even thinking clearly because he doesn't want this. This doesn't help him at all whatsoever. We see that Book agrees to Michael's, he initially agrees to her terms, and Tarka, being Tarka, double crosses him and was like, I'm going to blow it up anyway. And he's like, Michael, you got to get out of here because Tarka already did it. I can't stop him. And Tarka's like, let's jump. And he's like, not until Discovery jumps. And I was like, hey, Book, that's the one thing I'm proud of you. You didn't leave until Discovery left. And then we see Discovery jumps out. We see Book jumps out and they blow up the DMA. And then another one appears like immediately, almost immediately. So literally nothing happened. Tarka doesn't get his power source and all of them are screwed. And now Book is the cause. If a war happens, Book and Tarka are actually the cause this time.
Okay, so circling back a bit, even without holding Book and Tarka aboard the ship, or even a parlay, I would have just asked for the bomb. Like, like hold the bomb, let me beam that out, somehow ensure that they don't have access to that, so that then that can buy everyone some time. Because by keeping them on that ship with the bomb, that's what led to the destruction of the controller.
That wouldn't have been a good deal for them either, because Starfleet could have just changed their mind and said, you know, we're not giving it back. I feel like the only way this would have worked is if both ships just stayed there in constant view of each other the entire time. And that was the only way to prove the bomb wasn't going to go off. For a week, you sit there, we sit here, and we just hang out for a week.
Yeah. I just don't trust Tarka because he launched those torpedoes at them.
Oh no, I don't trust him either. But I'm saying there's no, like, Tarka would have never accepted giving Starfleet the bomb because it gives him no leverage. Yeah. Accepting a Starfleet person on Book's ship to make sure they don't launch it, they're not going to do that because then that Starfleet person can become prisoner. They're not going to getting onto Discovery ship and we're just going to hold you for a week. You committed treason. What did you think is going to happen after that week? You're just going to let them go? Like, there was no, I don't see a way of this working where one person gives up anything unless it's like, all right, well, Book, you're on our ship, and then we'll give you a person to hold for a week, Tarka, to make sure, you know, no one does anything. But there's no equal give or take in this situation unless they just both sit there and can't blow up the bomb, because if they both sit there, they can't escape if the bomb goes off, you know?
Well, in the end, everyone lost.
Yeah.
Tarka can't go back to his home because the controller's on the other side now.
Yeah.
And they made first contacts, and the species 10C launched another
DMA in the exact same spot.
They want that Bornite.
They do. I want to meet the species, and I swear they better be worth it. This is causing so much infighting. That ending was very anticlimactic for this episode. I mean, granted, the fact that they could just go ahead and create another DMA so quickly is very scary, but also it's like, all right, we blew everything up and almost nothing is really accomplished. I would have almost preferred Tucker get his like way out and then he's gone, because now we got to deal with him for some more episodes. And he's going to talk his way into, because he's smart. Yeah. They're going to need him. He's going to talk his way out of this somehow. Book is the expendable one, even though it really was, he tried to stand down and it was Tarka who turned it around. Tarka is smart, like literally a certified genius. They're going to need him at some point, and he's going to talk his way out of this, and I'm annoyed.
Well, they have to make first contact in 6 days because
now is second contact, technically.
Yeah, good point. So, because on the 7th day, the DMA will move to a different location, and then that could be where another planet exists. So it's completely out of their hands. So they have to travel, and only Discovery can jump. Yeah, the president of the Federation needs to also step up. Michael can't do all of this. She shouldn't.
Which is why they're trying to create another spore drive, and they just all got blown up. Because they trusted the wrong person. That they trusted the eccentric person when they shouldn't have. Yeah. So, as we're coming near the end of this episode, I am going to graciously give you some time to talk about the romance that's happening. I am not for that romance at all whatsoever. But I know you like it. So let's talk about it.
And maybe it's not a romance. Maybe it's a nice partnership between the two of them, two Zen folks able to like meditate, confide in each other. I think Saru is just at a different level. I can't imagine that he has anyone else on his level to confide with at Discovery. And some of the folks that he used to mentor down gone, like Tilly. So it's nice that he has someone to talk about. And it seems like he's going through some parenting with Sukal that he wants to discuss. So, yeah, I think companionship is good. There might not be a romance.
I'm fine with friendship. I just don't see it in a romantic way. I really don't. I can see Saru with other people, but those two together, I don't see it. Like, I just don't see it between those two characters. Like, I don't see any chemistry.
Oh, really? I feel chemistry.
I don't.
Because one, she answered his call on the first ring. So he was in his quarters watering his plants, and a spur of the moment called, and she answered immediately with that hologram. And he looked unexpected, like he wasn't expecting that. So and then he made pleasantries by making those 2 seats for the two of them. And she also followed up by saying that there's other opportunities, whether it's a walkabout, a walk in the park, or dinner. What I'm hoping, though, is that she's just not being diplomatic and professional, and he thinks that it's more than it's not. I don't want Saru's feelings to get hurt.
I don't either.
She's not as much into him as he's into her. I don't want that.
She's just not that into you.
Yeah, they're both.
I am there for friendship between them. I am there. I am down for them being a girl and boy boss. I am down for them to be the dynamic duo, the best friend. Like, oh, don't mess with them. Like all of that. I just don't. When I watched them, it seems so forced. The connections they're trying to. I don't see it naturally happening.
I was wondering if the directors are trying to show us subconsciously another relationship blossoming as Michael and Book's relationship explode, collapse.
It's a
And
circle
like
that never ends.
how a relationship that should go through courts, like courtship, evolves compared to Michael and Book like throwing themselves into each other's like work. I'm also interested in seeing what like dating's like in 930 years in the future.
He is robbing her cradle because he is over 900 some years old.
18 doesn't number. They're over 18.
He has
The bigger
years,
problem. The bigger problem
centuries on her.
The bigger problem is that she's in so much more of a powerful role as the leader of Navarre, a planet. He's an ambassador, sort of, kind of, and
but he is one of
occasionally
the
an
like
acting captain. He's not
within Starfleet. No, he's nowhere near her level in Starfleet. But on his home planet, he is one of the most revered people on his planet. So, like, if it was going by his planet and her planet, yes. But with it being Navarre and Starfleet, he's not on her level of like power.
right.
But like he has way more power on his home planet because he's like their grand elder. Her planet to Starfleet, not even close.
And that Navarre is trying to join the Federation, or at least the president of the Federation wants them to join, and Navarre is a little bit more cautious of that. But I don't want, by any means, the president of the Federation using their relationship, using Saru.
Oh, she definitely would. She would try. She wouldn't succeed, but she would try.
Yes, that's what I'm worried about there, is because I don't trust her.
I don't trust her either. So, any final thoughts before we end this episode?
There was a lot of engineering work, and I miss Jet and I miss Tilly. I think it would have been cool to see Tilly on that shuttle that went over to Bookship, or to even join Michael. I don't know. I miss her liveliness, and sometimes how she can add some just common sense to some of Michael's decisions. So yeah, because they're at the academy. Hopefully they'll return to the Federation, and hopefully, or there's some research or something that they can bring Tilly back on. I would like to see some characters come and go from the ship as they explore their lives outside of Discovery.
Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Yeah. Well, that is all the time that we have today. So thank you guys for hanging out and listening to us discuss this episode. I think we were more on one accord for some things this episode. So as always, I'm Andrea.
And I'm Anika.
And live long and prosper.